You ever find yourself scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m., wondering how you got here? Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like you're moving through your days, but nothing feels quite right. Everything feels slightly off. Like you're living someone else's life or reading from a script you never agreed to memorize. If you've been feeling lost lately, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. That restless feeling, that quiet desperation that whispers in the background of your daily routine, it's not a flaw in your design. It's actually your soul trying to tell you something important, something the world doesn't want you to hear. See, most people think being lost means you've taken a wrong turn somewhere, that you need to find your way back to the path everyone else is walking. But what if being lost isn't about finding your way back? What if it's about realizing you were never supposed to be on that path in the first place? We live in a world that's constantly telling you who you should be, what you should want, how you should feel. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that their definitions of success, happiness, and fulfillment were supposed to be yours too. But here's the thing about borrowed dreams. They never quite fit right. They're like wearing someone else's clothes. You can make it work, but it never feels natural. The truth is, feeling lost isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something's right. It's your authentic self pushing back against a life that doesn't align with who you actually are. It's your inner voice getting louder, demanding to be heard above the noise of everyone else's expectations. Think about it. When was the last time you did something purely because you wanted to? Not because it looked good on social media, not because it would impress someone, not because it was the responsible thing to do, but because something deep inside you said, yes, this feels right. This feels like me. Most people can't even remember the last time they felt that kind of authentic desire. They've been living on autopilot for so long, following the script society handed them, that they've forgotten what their own voice sounds like. They mistake other people's opinions for their own thoughts. They confuse external validation for internal satisfaction. But you, the fact that you're feeling lost, that you're questioning everything, that you're not satisfied with the default answers everyone else seems to accept, that's actually a superpower. That's your soul refusing to settle. That's your spirit saying there's more to life than this. The problem isn't that you're lost. The problem is that you've been trying to find yourself using other people's maps. You've been looking for your purpose in places where it was never meant to be found. You've been seeking fulfillment in achievements that were never supposed to fulfill you. Real talk, the version of success that gets celebrated in our culture is often the exact opposite of what actually brings peace. We're told to climb ladders that lean against the wrong walls. We're encouraged to win games that don't matter. We're pushed to become versions of ourselves that look impressive from the outside, but feel hollow from the inside. And the crazy part is, everyone knows this on some level. That's why so many successful people who have everything they thought they wanted, still feel empty. That's why anxiety and depression rates are through the roof, despite having more opportunities and resources than any generation in history. That's why the phrase, "Is this it?" has become the unofficial motto of modern life. But here's what they don't tell you about being lost. It's not a permanent state. It's a transition. It's the space between who you were told to be and who you're becoming. It's the uncomfortable but necessary process of shedding old skin so new skin can grow. The reason it feels so disorienting is because you're literally dissolving patterns that have been running your life for years, maybe decades. You're questioning beliefs you never chose to believe. You're examining assumptions you never consciously made. You're realizing that so much of what you thought was actually just conditioning. And that's terrifying, because if you're not who you thought you were, then who are you? If the goals you've been chasing aren't actually your goals, then what do you want? If the life you've been building isn't actually your life, then what's the point of anything? These are the questions that keep you up at night. These are the thoughts that make you feel like you're floating in space with no solid ground beneath your feet. And everyone around you seems to have it figured out, seems to know exactly where they're going, seems to be moving with purpose and confidence while you're just trying to remember how to breathe. But here's a secret nobody talks about. Most of those people who seem so sure, so grounded, so clear about their direction, they're just better at hiding their confusion. They've learned to perform certainty even when they feel lost. They've mastered the art of looking like they have it all together while privately questioning everything. The difference between you and them isn't that they've found something you haven't. The difference is that they've learned to be comfortable with not knowing. They've made peace with uncertainty. They've stopped trying to figure everything out and started learning to trust the process. Because here's the thing about being lost that nobody tells you. It's not a problem to be solved. It's an experience to be lived through. It's not a mistake to be corrected. It's a necessary part of the journey. You can't find yourself without first losing yourself. You can't discover who you are without first questioning who you aren't. The feeling of being lost is actually your GPS recalibrating. It's your internal navigation system realizing that the destination you are heading toward isn't where you actually want to go. And yeah, it's uncomfortable when the GPS says recalculating because for a moment you don't know which way to turn. But that recalculation is necessary. It's the system course correcting so you can end up where you're supposed to be. Most people never allow themselves to feel truly lost because they're terrified of that uncertainty. They'd rather stay on the wrong path than risk the discomfort of not knowing which path is right. They'd rather be miserable in familiar territory than potentially happy in unknown territory. But you're different. You're feeling the discomfort, and instead of running from it, you're sitting with it. You're letting it teach you something. You're allowing it to show you what doesn't fit so you can start discovering what does. And that takes courage, real courage, the kind of courage that doesn't look impressive from the outside, but is actually the most important kind. The courage to disappoint people who are invested in you staying the same. The courage to let go of certainty in favor of authenticity. The courage to trust that you'll figure it out as you go. See, the world will try to convince you that not knowing is weakness, that uncertainty is failure, that being lost is something to be ashamed of. But that's only because a world full of people who know who they are and what they want is much harder to control than a world full of people who are desperately seeking external validation. When you know yourself, really know yourself, you stop being so easily influenced by what other people think you should do. You stop buying things to fill emotional voids. You stop accepting jobs that drain your soul. You stop staying in relationships that don't serve you. You stop living your life according to someone else's script. And that's dangerous to a system that depends on your compliance, your consumption, your willingness to trade your time and energy for things that don't actually matter to you. That's why being lost is actually a rebellious act. It's your soul's way of saying, I refuse to keep playing this game. So if you've been feeling lost, if you've been questioning everything, if you've been wondering if there's something wrong with you because you can't seem to find your place in the world, let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not failing at life. You're just finally starting to wake up. You're finally starting to listen to the voice that's been trying to get your attention for years. You're finally starting to realize that the life you've been living isn't the life you're meant to live. And that realization, that awakening, it's not supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to shake you up. It's supposed to make you question everything. It's supposed to make you feel like you're starting over, because in a way you are. You're starting over, but this time you're not building someone else's version of your life. You're not following someone else's blueprint for success. You're not trying to fit into someone else's definition of who you should be. This time, you're building from the inside out. You're letting your authentic self guide the construction. You're trusting that the blueprint you need is already within you, waiting to be discovered. You're learning that the path reveals itself as you walk it, not before. And yes, it's scarier this way. Yes, it's more uncertain. Yes, it requires you to have faith in something you can't see yet. But it's also more alive. It's more real. It's more you. Because the truth is, you were never meant to have it all figured out. You were never meant to know exactly where you're going at every moment. You were never meant to live your life according to a predetermined plan that someone else created. You were meant to explore, to discover, to create, to evolve, to become. And you can't do any of that if you're too busy trying to be who you think you're supposed to be. The feeling of being lost isn't a detour from your path. It is your path. It's the necessary wandering that leads to real discovery. It's the uncomfortable space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's the void that must be entered before anything new can be born. So instead of fighting the lostness, what if you embraced it? What if you saw it as an invitation rather than a problem? What if you trusted that this feeling of not knowing is actually your inner wisdom, guiding you away from what's not meant for you and toward what is? What if being lost is actually the beginning of being found? So now we arrive at the place where most people get stuck. They've embraced the idea that being lost is part of the journey, but they don't know how to actually navigate it. They're floating in the space between who they were and who they're becoming. And while they understand it's temporary, they still feel paralyzed by the uncertainty. This is where the real work begins. Being lost isn't just about accepting confusion. It's about learning to move through it with intention, even when you can't see the destination. Think of it like walking through fog. You can't see the entire path, but you can see the next step, and that next step is enough. The first thing you need to understand is that clarity doesn't come from thinking harder about your situation. It comes from taking action, even small ones, especially when you don't feel ready. Your brain will tell you to wait until you have more information, until you feel more confident, until the path becomes clearer. But here's the truth. Clarity is the reward of action, not the requirement for it. Start with what you can control right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Maybe it's cleaning your space, maybe it's reaching out to someone you've been avoiding, maybe it's simply going for a walk without your phone. These aren't solutions to your larger questions, but they're movements. And movement creates momentum, and momentum creates possibility. The second crucial piece is learning to listen to your body, not just your mind. Your mind will spin stories about what you should do, what you're supposed to want, what makes logical sense, but your body holds a different kind of wisdom. It knows what energizes you and what drains you. It knows what feels aligned and what feels forced. When you're lost, your body becomes your compass. Pay attention to what makes you feel more alive, even in small ways. Notice what activities make time disappear. Notice which conversations leave you feeling energized rather than depleted. Notice what environments make you breathe deeper. These aren't necessarily career paths or life purposes, but they're clues pointing toward your authentic self. Here's what most people don't realize about being lost. It's not a problem to be solved. It's a skill to be developed. The ability to navigate uncertainty, to remain calm in the unknown, to trust the process even when you can't see the outcome. These are some of the most valuable capabilities you can cultivate. They serve you not just in this moment of lostness, but in every transition, every challenge, every growth period for the rest of your life. The people who seem to have it all figured out haven't eliminated uncertainty from their lives. They've just gotten comfortable with it. They've learned to dance with the unknown instead of fighting it. They understand that life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. So instead of asking, "What should I do with my life?" try asking, "What wants to emerge through me?" Instead of, "What's my purpose?" try, "What's trying to heal or grow or express itself through my experience?" These questions shift you from forcing solutions to allowing discovery. Being lost is not a detour from your path. It is the path. It's the space where transformation happens, where old versions of yourself fall away and new possibilities emerge. It's uncomfortable because growth is uncomfortable. It's uncertain because you're becoming someone you've never been before. Trust the process. Trust the lostness. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be, even when it doesn't feel that way. Your willingness to be lost is actually your willingness to be found, but found by the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. The way forward isn't through having all the answers. It's through developing the courage to live the questions, to act without certainty, to trust that the path will reveal itself as you walk it, because it will. It always does.